So tomorrow I start my hunt for the Witchfinder General Matthew Hopkins. I'm travelling from Yorkshire all the way to Norfolk, visiting Manningtree and Mistley, which is where he lived and he's buried. All in aid of research for my new book, Hopkins, The Last Witch. My fascination with Hopkins came from doing my dissertation at uni, where I'd kind of batted around the idea of doing something on Hopkins, but my knowledge and my confidence in the period around the Civil War was a little bit shaky. I wasn't confident that I knew enough, and with Hopkins being in the centre of that, I felt that I wouldn't be able to give it enough justice. But I was pushed and pushed, and in the end I just said, yeah, let's do this, I can do this. And what I found was a man that was totally fascinating to me, and the motivations behind what he did was really interesting, because not many people know much about him, apart from him being a killer of witches. So basically, during the 1640s, around 1642, this man, this 29-year-old man, rose from obscurity and spent 2 years of that period basically reigning terror over East Anglia, possibly pushing the borders into Bedfordshire and Oxfordshire, but definitely mainly around East Anglia. East Anglia at that time was a mainly Puritan and parliamentarian county. So the support of the Puritan cause was quite high. So that gave him an advantage to work with when it came to persecuting witches. The title Witchfinder General came from himself. It was never official. He wasn't given it by anyone such as Cromwell or any official source. It was a self-appointed title. But Matthew Hopkins was very ego-driven, and he loved the power that title gave him, and continued to write to various sources such as Judge Godbolt, in order to get that endorsement and to make that official. And unfortunately, that just never happened. So in that 2-year period, Matthew Hopkins and his partner John Stern, who he had met in Manningtree, spent 2 years going around the county, and basically putting to death around 200 men, women, and children as witches. One of the fascinations for me is that during that period, the war between Parliament and King was at its height, and also the paranoia centred around Catholicism was extremely high. The Puritans hated anything to do with idolatry, and they considered it a sin. And apart from a war between the parliamentarians and the king, which is political, there was also a religious war between the Puritans and the Catholics, which was an undercurrent as well. So with that paranoia, there was definitely something for Hopkins to grab hold of and use. And one of my theories is that Hopkins didn't necessarily persecute witches, but persecuted Catholics in order to gain more notoriety, and also to gain the favour of generals such as Oliver Cromwell. But unfortunately, that's something that I can't prove, but it's a theory. So that really is the start of my fascination. I want to look at the man who is labelled by many within the witch population as a monster. I'm a witch, I'm a pagan, Wicca, whatever you want to call me. I prefer to use the term witch, but as a historian, I like to look at the facts, and I don't fully get on board with this idea that he was a killer of witches. I do believe that there was a cover, and it was used as a way of getting rid of Catholicism within the county. I don't believe he was a monster. I believe he was an opportunist. I believe that there was many men within that period that was just as brutal, maybe not in the same way, and not to the same notoriety, but I believe that due to the environment that the Civil War had created, that there would be more monstrous things that was going on. But Matthew Hopkins, obviously, it is well known. So I don't believe him to be a monster. I do believe him to be an opportunist. I do believe that he manipulated and used the situation in order for his own self-gain. And that's what I am looking into, and that's what my new book will be about. And this is the start of that journey to look into that man and where he came from. So I'll be posting a few videos of my journey when I go to Manningtree and Missley to have a look at where he came from, look at where he was buried, see if I can find where he was buried, and an update on that journey. So I'll sign off for now, and hopefully I will see you soon. Ta-ra!